Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's TX1for1 here with your Ace in the Day gameplay as always. Today I'm bringing out the rank 9 La-5FN in the Russian line. So, going into the historical facts, well, what I know, the La-5 was meant to be the successor to the Lag-3. It was notable for its it was a noted plane for its attempts to combat the Messerschmitt 109 and the Focke-Wulf 190A series, in that it was made to engage fighters at high altitudes in comparison to the Yakovlev series of planes, which were more predominantly low altitude fighters. This can be seen in the general shape of the plane, and also the armament being two 20mm cannons rather than the standardised Yak armament of a 12.7mm or a twin 12.7mm machine guns and a 20mm cannon mounted through the prop. As far as I know, this plane did prove a worthy successor to the Lag-3, and it was quite competitive against the rather dominant high altitude fighters of the Messerschmitt 109s and the Focke-Wulf 190s. So, in game with War Thunder, how does this plane handle? Well, it's not too bad in all honesty, and as I say, I'm going to have a sip of my cup of tea. That's better, I was losing my voice there. It's not too bad, and hopefully in this airfield domination gameplay on Stalingrad Winter, ironically the same map that I brought you that Yak-3 rank 10 gameplay on, I hope to show you the characteristics of this plane. The one thing to note is that you're given quite a wonderful setup in honesty. A pair of 20mm cannons in the mounted just above the prop, which are incredibly devastating as long as you can get them on target. You have no machine guns, however, which means you have to be very conservative with your shots and getting close before you can get off an effective burst. Well, that's how I find it. Now, to begin with, as I'm starting to make my way over to the middle airfield and dive down towards the furball and see what I can do. I'll tell you my setup. The setup I'm using on this plane is 500m gun convergence, a 30-minute fuel load. I'm using ground target ammunition for the cannons because I find that the extra high explosive rounds in that belt are more effective than the standard omni-purpose. And I've also got, well, I think I've already said I've got the 30-minute fuel load. So I dive down, I take a quick pot shot at this KI-45. However, what I notice is that by the time I sweep round for my second pass, the KI-45's probably already got away and an enemy fighter probably got my back. So instead I decide to climb up and loop over and make my way back down, checking for what fighters I might be able to take out. Now I notice this KI-45 is being chased by a Messerschmitt 109, so I make a quick turn, and I notice that there's an A6M2-0, which is quite exposed, so I dive in for the kill. And with a brief burst I manage to completely take off his or her right wing, and I make my way out of the furball, using the energy that I've managed to retain in order to get away nicely before the next load of enemy fighters make their way over to the airfield. Now, funnily enough, this plane plays very similarly to a Focke-Wulf 190A series plane, in that you have quite a sufficient roll rate, you have a powerful armament, and you have very good energy handling characteristics and conservation. As you'll notice, my speed during that entire series of manoeuvres didn't drop anywhere below 350 km an hour, and as such that's the reason why I've been able to get away from the furball quite quickly and dodge the next incoming wave. Additionally, because we have a sufficient roll rate, it means that we can get on target quite easily and not have to panic about preparing our manoeuvres well in advance. As you're about to see, I'll make a brief turn to look at this P-47, however my teammates will get him or her before I can even open fire. The reason why I decided to turn around and fire burst was in case that Thunderbolt got anywhere near our Spitfire Mark 5B and took him or her out. At which point I decided to head back over and I noticed this A6M30 is heading towards my teammates, so I decide to intercept before everyone else tries to intercept him or her. Managed to kill the pilot on that Zero, and that's the one notable thing about these Russian 20mm Shavak cannons. They're very effective at killing pilots. The omni-purpose belt is far more effective due to the FIT round, however, and the reason why I prefer the ground target ammunition, as I said to you folks earlier, is just simply because we've got extra high explosive rounds in that belt. So as I loop over once again, just to get a bit of altitude and then make my way back towards the central airfield, I'm looking at the scoreboard thinking to myself, well, what planes has the enemy team got? And I notice it's predominantly a fighter mix-up at this point. So rather than hunt bombers, I'm probably going to have to dive in there and just see what I can take out. Now the pros of this plane are its Focke-Wulf light handling characteristics, although at speeds of over 500 km an hour the roll rate does seize up a little bit and it becomes a bit slow. So going into very high speed dives is quite a risky tactic. Now I'm noticing that a load of enemy fighters over our own airfield, I believe that's B, but I've noticed that a lot of our fighters there as well, so I decided to hang over the central airfield, pardon me, and see what I can do. This P-63 King Cobra is harassing our P-63 King Cobra, and I decide to help out before it's too late. Killing the pilot of that King Cobra, I make my way to attack this Zero. Now the one thing you'll notice is we got a very good burst off. We managed to set the Zero on fire, but as I look behind me, this Zero is still flying completely. Unfortunately, it would seem that the Japanese Zeros have gone from "oh god, my plane's on fire" to "oh wow, that tickles." But I guess that's just how they're being modelled at the moment, and I'm not complaining. I know that if that fire had continued to spread and the fuel tank had gone up, we would have got the kill. Also, we've put that Zero out of action technically by the fact that setting him on her on fire, it's cost him or her a lot of fuel and also probably quite a bit of damage to the control surfaces. So now, making my way back over to the furball, and I keep repeating this tactic of diving in, going for a kill, and then getting away as fast as possible using the energy I pick up in the small dives I make. I decided to head back over to the furball, and I noticed the majority of the enemy fighters are again hanging over the central airfield. The only complaint I also have about this plane is that it feels very unreliable if you're opening fire at long distances. You have to really get in close, as I've said, in order to get a good effect on target. And as I dive, I'm looking for another target, and that's this P-47 Thunderbolt. Again, just a quick burst set him or her on fire, and I open up on this Messerschmitt, sorry. And I do enough damage to their wing. I completely miss this King Cobra. Unfortunately, my nerves get the better of me. And anyway, that King Cobra is pretty much dead. I got an assist on that Messerschmitt 109, and as I turn, I notice this ME410. And having finished off the rest of my cannon ammunition and got the kill, so that's my ace already, I decide to fly away and take a reload. And while I'm reloading, I'm going to close my window. Sorry about that. So the reload time's quite long, but however, once you've got your expert crew level, which you should have by the time you reach rank 9 in the Russians if you play them quite frequently, you'll have it down to about 20 seconds, i.e. the reload time. So I'm looking at the scoreboard once again. I'm noticing that the enemy fighters are thinning out quite a bit now. A number of players have run out of planes or have left the game. So the game's swinging back in my team's favour. Having made the reload, I've decided to loop over, build up speed, move in with the new flock of fighters on our team and see what I can do. It is quite a wonderful plane, the La-5FN. I haven't flown the La-5 or the La-5F, the two earlier versions, the rank 7 and rank 8 versions I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, folks. But on the whole, I reckon the La-5 is a sufficient competitor to the dominance of the Messerschmitt 109 Gustav II at rank 9. I'm noticing this Messerschmitt 109, speaking of those, flying below me, although I decide not to attack him or her because they're not the primary target. I'm looking for any fighters that are staying up at higher altitude or that I can dive on into the furball. So I just keep my eyes open. I'm noticing that the furball is being dominated by my team rather than the enemy team, so I decide to pick on something coming fresh from the enemy spawn. Obviously not going for a spawn kill, I'm just looking for a fighter that's trying to make its way over. So I notice this Ki-61 that's dived on my teammate, and I decide to help out my fellow Messerschmitt 109. Now I notice that they are getting a bit too far away, and I decide to change tactic instead. Although I also noticed on the scoreboard at this point that Ki-61 was actually shot down by one of our Spitfires, so it was probably a good thing I didn't go for either set of targets. So I turn, I see a P-47 Thunderbolt that's just making its way over, and I actually make a mistake here. My mistake is I get cocky and I decide to try and take the P-47 head on and open fire at 1.5 kilometers. Now as you see, while I did manage to get the kill, I took quite a bit of damage to the plane, and if it weren't for the fact that this plane comes with armour plating in both the rear and the front, I probably would have been killed. Also, I believe that P-47 Thunderbolt's gun convergence was set to a very short distance, I think 250 metres, which is why I got away with that. So I noticed this Ki-49 and I decided not to open fire because it's already been put into the ground by my teammates. So instead, with slight engine damage and damage to my right wing, I just rinse and repeat the process. If I'd taken a bit more engine damage, i.e. the engine icon had been dark red heading towards black, I would have gone for a landing. But with the game into adolescence and heading towards its end, I decided I might as well hang around and just be a bit more conservative in my movements. So this Illusion 2 decides to attack our ground units and I dive in for the kill. Now with that one burst I damaged his tail and I open up on this Mitchell. Making sure not to hit my teammate who sweeps past. And unfortunately I ran out of ammunition, so rather than be cannon fodder to the Mitchell's rear gunner and just noting we killed that Illusion 2, I instead just put my nose down a little bit, having just got my 7th kill on that Illusion, and reload while my teammates open up on the Mitchell, and if time allows I'll open up on the Mitchell after reloading. So putting my nose up, I'm about to fire and my teammates killed the Mitchell, so I'd get my 4th assist, although I was a little bit annoyed at that point because I was getting really excited about trying to take him down. Or her down, sorry. So the game's really coming to an end now, and really it's a nice way to send off what is quite an interesting plane. To be honest, it's not a plane that I want to keep flying, because I have flown the La-5FN quite a bit in War Thunder. Although at this point I am typing to my team smile for YouTube, because I was thinking to myself, well, this game better go up on YouTube. It's a pretty good one showcasing what the La-5FN can and can't do, or what I think it's made for personally. However, as always, remember to take everything I say with a pinch of salt, because what works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. So the game's just come to its end, and I'm about to bring up the scoreboard. Okay, so looking at our stats, our personal stats firstly, we managed to get 7 kills. Don't worry about those plane upgrades, they're for a different plane from a previous game. And we managed to get just shy of 18,000 silver lions and just shy of 17,000 XP, which is a very good haul, especially for a rank 9 plane. In addition to that, with the 7 kills we got and the 4 assists, we contributed quite well to the team effort, getting a couple of enemy fighters off our team's backs, and just keeping the enemy team away from the central airfield. We came 3rd on the scoreboard, with 7 kills and not having been shot down at all, and it's a lovely way to finish a game. So I've been TX141, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Sorry if I've been a bit tongue-tied. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like, comment or subscribe for future War Thunder content on my channel. Until then, take care.